extra 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Last may like maybe the class may extend up to 5 o'clock because it's a long portion.
Your 1 hour class?
Yeah, I have 1 hour class, 3:30 to 4:30, but I think it will go up to 5 today. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Okay, fine.
So, students, good evening. Yeah, good afternoon. So, in the last class, we were discussing about the various social welfare policies in India. So, we already discussed about the Manna Rega, which is a major social welfare policy in the field, in the arena of employment, if you see. So, the next three major social policies that we have to deal with are related to education, one is related to food, and the other is related to health. So to begin with, the one related to education, that is our Right to Education Act, that which was enacted in 2009, 2009, and which was like came into force in 2010. As you can see on the screen, I have written the major points that's dealing with right to education. Then again, if you want to know more about the act and related things, you have a portal which majorly deals with right to education, and I'll share the details with you soon. So, with, as you can see on the screen, with a Right to Education Act, the RTE, we generally call it, with that enactment, the right to education has become a fundamental right in the country. So, just a second. It's that the RTE is an important legislation that marks a watershed in the education system in India. So the act, it's completely titled as the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act, which is passed by the Parliament, as already explained, in August 2009, and it came to force in 2010, where with the act coming into force, India became one of the 135 countries where education is a fundamental right of every children or every child. Sorry. So, regarding the constitutional provisions with the right to education or that are related to education, it's that the Act brought in an 86th constitutional amendment in 2002, which inserted the Article 21A in the Indian Constitution, where it mentioned clearly that the state shall provide free and compulsory education to all children of age 6 to 12, 14 years in such a manner as the state may the law determine. So, as per this, the right to education was made a fundamental right, and it was thus removed from the directive principles of the state policy. Earlier, this was the education was a part of the DPOSP, if you see. So, with then again, with the right to education, several provisions also are made mandatory, or provisions are made to the general public. So, these include that, first of all, the RTE is actually a consequential legislation which envisaged under the 86th Amendment. So, the article incorporates the word right of compulsory. The word free is actually mentioned in its title. So what it means is that no child other than those admitted by his or her parents in a school that's not supported by the government is liable to pay any kind of fee or charges or expenses which may prevent that child from pursuing and completing the elementary education. So the term free is used there. Then also there is the right of free and compulsory education. It's ensured to each and every child until the elementary education in school in the neighborhood is complete. So that is again there. Then also you can see that this act, the RTE, it makes it obligatory on the part of the government to ensure the admission, the attendance, and also the completion of the elementary education by all the children in the age groups of age bracket, majorly that's coming between the 6 to 14 years. So essentially, if you see, this act ensures the free elementary education to all children, even a special provision is made for those who belong to the education economically weaker sections of the society also. So also the act provides for the admission of non-educational as an the compulsory education. So it okay. So yeah. So the act actually make it clear that the compulsory education that implies as an the as owned by the government to ensure the admission, the attendance, the completion of the elementary education of all children between the ages of 6 and 14. So this we have already discussed. So also the act provides for the admission of a non-admitted child to a class of that child's appropriate age. Also, it's mentioned that the duties of the respective governments are mentioned in it. The local authorities, even the duties of the parent in ensuring the education of a child is mentioned in the act. It also, if you see in detail, it also specifies that the sharing of the and the state. Then also it specifies like certain standards and norms for the pupil teacher ratios, the PTR we call it. Even it mentions some kind of standards and norms for the infrastructure and buildings that's required for each and every school. Also it have these guidelines about the working days of the school, and even there are those for the teachers that separately that is also mentioned. Then also it says that there should be no rural urban imbalance in the teachers postings. So the act also kind of provides for the prohibition of the employment of teachers for non-educational work, which we have like that was one of the major areas of concern why the RTE already came into effect. So that like the teachers were employed into non-educational works, and they were getting they were unable to provide the classes to the students. So it was made mandatory in this particular act that the government teachers must not be employed in another non-educational activities other than that of this census, elections, or even disaster relief work. Also the act also provides that the teachers who are appointed, they should be appropriately qualified, and also they should be appropriately trained before they began taking classes. And also you can see there are prohibitions within the act, which is majorly about the mental harassment and physical punishment of the children. Then also about screening procedures of for the admission of the children, what kind of a screening procedure one should follow, or what should be the procedures one should follow before like admitting a child to the class. Also about the capitation fees, the denial of capitation fees, or that is again mentioned. Also about private tuition by the teachers. The teachers are earlier we used to see that the teachers used to give private tuitions to the children, and they hardly come to the classes in a government school to take classes. So by this act, it is made mandatory that the teacher should be teaching in the classrooms rather than taking private tuitions and like making any kind of profit out of that. So that is again prohibited within this law. Also, there is a prohibition of running schools with no recognition is there. Then we can also see that the RTE envisages that the curriculum should be developed in coherence with the values that's enshrined in the Indian Constitution, and that which would take care of all the all-round development of the child. So the major focus is that the curriculum should build on the knowledge of the child. That should be based on his or her own potentiality and talents, and also help the child kind of free of trauma or fear or anxiety, like via a system that is both kind of child centric or child friendly. So that is again envisaged in the act of the Right to Education Act. So since we have discussed the major provisions of the Right to Education Act, so the next thing is we have to understand what is the significance of the right to education. So, as you can see, with the passing of the Right to Education Act, India has moved towards a right-based approach towards implementing the the education for all. If you see, so the act actually cast a legal obligation thereby on the state and also on the central governments to execute the fundamental right of a child under the Article 21A of the Constitution. So that's where its significance lies, where the act lays down a specific standards again on the student teacher ratio, which is very important concept in providing see a quality education. Also it also talks about various provisions or talks about providing toilet facilities for both girls and boys. Also talks about adequate standards for the classroom conditions. It also talks about provision for drinking water facilities, and even for the creation of playgrounds in the schools. So there are much provisions like that, which majorly talks about the development of child, not just based on the textbooks or the knowledge that's imparted to them, rather than extracurricular activities also need to be included. That is again a part of the RTE, the Right to Education Act. Then also the act stress on avoiding the urban rural imbalance in the teachers posting, as already explained. But it is important as there is a big gap in the quality and also numbers regarding teachers in the teachers teaching in a village government school when compared to those in an urban area in the country. So that's why this point of between about the urban rural imbalance of teachers posting is also stressed in the act. Then again, if you see that the act also kind of provides for the zero tolerance against harassment and discrimination of children. So that's where the social welfare administration like majorly strikes up, where the prohibition of screening procedures of admission that majorly ensures that there would be no discrimination of children on the basis of caste, religion, gender, the educational pre-educational capacities, etc. So that is one of the major areas where the Right to Education Act actually uh, concentrates. Then again, we can also see that the act also mandates that no kid should be detained until class 8, and it also that's why introduced the continuous comprehensive evaluation system, the CCE we call, in every school in order to promote the participatory democracy and also kind of governance in all the elementary schools. So these committees have the authority to monitor the according to this act, and they are like just a second. Um, I hope the window is visible to you all. So yeah, we were talking about the significance of the RTE. So then again, rather than CC, the comprehensive, continuous comprehensive evaluation, also there are school management committee provided by. Uh, it's a provision again in the act to create or form such school management committees, or we simply call them the SMGs. So in every school, so that they can promote participatory democracy and governance in all elementary schools. So these committees majorly have the authority to monitor the school's functioning and also prepare the developmental plans for that particular school. Also we can see that there are provisions in the act which makes it justifiable, and also they have a grievance redressal mechanism which again permits people to take action when the provisions mentioned in the act are not compiled with. Then then the next provision is about, or the next significance of the RTE is that it also mandates for all private schools that 25% of their from socially disadvantaged and also economically backward sections. So was actually intended to boost the social inclusion and also pave way for a more just and also an equal country. So this provision is again included in the section 12(1) of the 1C of the RT Act, and where it's mentioned that all schools, private, unaided, aided, or even special category, must reserve 25% of their seats at the entry level for students from the EWS or the economically weaker sections, and also from their disadvantaged groups. So when the rough version of the act was drafted in 2005, there was a lot of outcry in the country against this large percentage of seats being reserved for the underprivileged. So however, the framers of this draft, they stood their ground and were able to justify this 25% reservation in private schools even. So this provision is actually kind of a far-reaching move and perhaps the most important step insofar as the inclusive education is concerned. Then also we can see that this provision seeks to achieve the social integration. So and also it was mentioned that the loss incurred by the schools as a result of others at 25% seats being reserved even in the private schools, that would be reimbursed by the central government. So then like again as part of the significance, we can see that in the recent evaluations we have definitely gone through that the act has actually helped in increasing the enrollment in the upper primary level, that's class 6 to 8, between 2009 and 2016 by around 19.4 percentage. So that's actually a huge number of children or kids being like going started going to school. Also like one of the other major significance of the act can be seen in the fact that So there was a study that about the RTE in 2016. It was an evaluation study conducted. So it again marked that in the rural areas in 2016, only 3%, 3.3% of the children in the age group of 6 to 14 years bracket were out of the school. So that again is kind of a tremendous growth in the enrollment numbers in those schools, and also a control in the dropout, which was one of the major issues that India was facing. That students, it was there was a huge number of, or a huge percentage of students having like facing a dropout every academic year. So that was again controlled to a greater extent, if you see, under the RTE. So, even though there are major provisions that have been provided under the RTE, then again, several criticisms have aroused, or even though the RTE is a major step in the right direction to implement education free and compulsory in India. So then again, it has met with kind of several criticisms. Oh, some of them, as you can see on your screen, like the first one is about the act was drafted hastily without much thought on the consultation being given to the quality of education imparted. So that is one of the major criticism that RT face. The second one is about that the children below 6 years, they are not covered under the act, and that again is a kind of challenge to the preschool enrollments and preschool education. Also, there are like many of the schemes under the act have been compiled as a part of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and have been plagued with corruption charges and inefficiency. So that is again another criticism. Also, there is a criticism that at the time of the admissions, many documents such as that of the birth certificate, the BPL certificate, so many of those are required. So this move actually seems to have left out the orphans from being beneficiaries of the act. So that is again a major concern. Also, there have been implementational hurdles in the 25% reservation of seats for the EWS and others in the private schools. So it was a huge debate that had gone, and there was a huge outcry among the public regarding the reservation of seats in the private schools. Also, there are criticisms about regarding the no detention policy till class 8, which is an amendment to the act in 2009, which introduced regular annual exams in classes 5 to 8. So initially it was that there is a no detention policy till class 8, but by an amendment in 2019 it was corrected with an introduction to regular annual exams in classes 8 to 8. So then again, with a no detention policy, like the evaluation of the students, and that students or the children having that fear about completing their portions or understanding, making the basic idea or basic knowledge about that can be sometimes curtailed. So that can be sometimes derailed. That is the major point. So that is again a major criticism of the RTE Act. Also, there are criticisms like in case a student fails in the annual exam, he or she is given extra training and made to appear for a certain absent, if you see in the case of RT, because we have seen that RT majorly focuses on children or families or households who cannot who are economically obliged to like economically weaker in stage. So so that they can send their children and support their the children's education. So that's why to be defined compulsory, so that there won't be an economic version of it coming out. So like when if a child fails in the exam because of this like because that child lacks a private tuition also, so then again there should be a provision for the child to reappear for the exam, so that have to be there. Or there should be a provision for a re-exam, and providing some children with an extra training, that should be there. So that is again lacking in the case and of RT. And if the re-exam is not passed, then the student can be detained in the class or something like that. That have to be there, rather than a no detention policy, if that is one of another requirement. Also this amendment was made after many state complained that without regular exams the learning levels of the children could not be evaluated effectively. So that's why there was this amendment in 2019 happened, which introduced the regular annual exams for classes 5 to 8. Then also there were states which were against this amendment, and with like major six states were against this amendment with higher learning outcomes due to their effective implementation of the continuous cumulative system. Or so that was mandated in the six states where like Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, Goa, Telangana, and Maharashtra. So it has been found that many states again find it difficult to move towards implementing this system. So this is actually due to the fact that there is a lack of teachers training and orientation in that in those manners. Also there are criticisms that are leveled against the act, is that instead of increasing the standards and also outcomes of the public education system in India, it passes the buck to private schools to some respect. So these are several of the criticisms that the Right to Education Act face in India, even though it has been a huge success in providing free and compulsory education. So by making the right to education to a fundamental right, it took almost more than 6 to 7 decades after independence. So now the government and all the stakeholders should focus more on the quality of education and gradually move towards having a single educational system and a platform across the country for all the sections of the society, so that it can foster the equality, inclusion, and unity. So that is about the RTE. So the next social policies regarding the health, and that is the National Health Mission. Uh, Majorly we talk about. So when you look at the National Health Mission, it majorly encompasses two submissions in it: the National Rural Health Mission, and that is the NRHM, and also the National Urban Health Mission, the NUHM. So the major problematic components when we consider the National Health Mission, it includes the health system strengthening in both rural and urban areas, also providing a major lookout on the various components like the reproductive, maternal, neonatal, child, and adolescent health. So that is majorly termed as the RMNCH plus A, and also a major lookout on the communicable and also non-communicable diseases in India. So if you look at the policy, the National Health Mission program, it's actually a program, not just a simple policy, you can say. So it majorly envisages about the achievement of universal access to equitable, affordable, and also quality healthcare services that are and also responsive to the people's needs. So there again, we can see that the NHM was majorly enacted in order to reduce that urban rural divide in getting quality and affordable healthcare services, which is like more accountable and responsible or responsive to the needs of the people in both areas. Then the thrust of the mission is on establishing a fully functional, community owned, decentralized health delivery with intersectoral convergence at all levels, and also to ensure simultaneous action on a wide range of determinants of health, like that of water, sanitation, education, nutrition, social and gender equality. Then about the two sub-missions within the NHM or the National Health Mission, the National Rural Health Mission, the NRHM and NUHM. So, so if you look at the NRHM, it seeks to improve the health status of the rural population, particularly those who are called as the rural poor and also the other vulnerable sections, by facilitating their access to the quality primary healthcare. And similar is like the to improve the health status of the urban population, particularly the urban poor and other vulnerable sections in the urban areas, by facilitating their access to quality primary health care, is that is sit under the National Urban Health Mission NUHM. So there are like numerous initiatives are taken under the National Health Mission and also the National Rural Health Mission and also National Urban Health Mission, so that the issues related to or the need for basic uh, healthcare facilities, primary healthcare facilities in both rural and urban areas can be met. So some of them, as you can see on your screen, are mentioned. So the first one is about, this is like the ASHA workers. So they are majorly employed in the rural areas. If you see, if you belong to a rural area, you may be well aware of their significance during the COVID period also, like when they were the ones who usually kind of visit each and every household in a week or in an alternative week, and majorly inquires about the health conditions. In the case of COVID time period, it was about the COVID patients. If they when they get the information from the government or the public health centers regarding that somebody is COVID infected, so at that time they either make calls or they usually monitor the presence happening. So they actually serve as, that's why they serve as the facilitators, the mobilizers, and also providers of the community level care. And they are the first port of call in the community, especially for the marginalized sections of the population. And majorly their focus was on women and children, the prenatal, the postnatal care, the child care, everything. So they were majorly concerned about that. And like when the situation demanded during the pandemic, so there again, like there they were actually it was found significant that they can play a crucial role in again containing the disease. So next one, the next major initiative is about the Rogi Kalyan Samiti, or the Hospital Management Society, which is a simple but an effective management structure. So this committee is a registered society whose members act as trustees to manage the affairs of that hospital. So they and also ensure provision. The next initiative is about the united grants to sub-centers, or the sub-centers or SCs. That is what it is normally like formally termed as. So the untied grants are given a new they have actually given a new confidence to our ANMs in the field. So the sub centers are far better equipped now with the basic requirements like a blood pressure measuring equipment or the hemoglobin measuring equipments or the stethoscope weighing machines, etc. So that's again a major initiative under the NHM. Also there are village health sanitation and nutrition committees or the VHSNCs. So they community empowerment and also participation at the grassroots levels to address issues of environmental and also the social determinants. So like membership includes people from the PRIs, and also there are representatives of marginalized communities. Then there is the Janani Surakyu. So that is again common to both rural and urban areas, where its major aim is to reduce the maternal mortality rates among the pregnant women, encouraging them to deliver in the government health facilities. Also, there is the Janani Shishu Suraksha the Karyakram, the JSSK. So, which was launched in 2011, and it entitles all the pregnant women delivering in the public health institutions for an absolutely free and no expense delivery, even if that is a cesarean section. Then there are facilities for the newborn care also, like people can dial 108 or 102. These are the telephone numbers for the which has been established by launch of even home-based and also facility-based newborn care components, ensuring that every newborn receives the essential care that is required to it right from the time of birth, and like for the first 48 hours at the health facility, and then even at home for the next 42 days of the kid's life. So that is again ensured under the NHM. Then there are national mobile medical units, the NMMUs. So to increase their visibility, awareness, and accountability, the all the mobile medical units which were available, they have been repositioned as the national mobile medical unit service with universal color and design. So that's again available for under the NHM. Then there are national ambulance services like 108 and 102 already for the child care. Then again again that's initiative under the NHM. Also, then there are, in order to ensure that the enhanced fund locations or to the states and the UTs, the union territories and other institutions are under the there are financial management. So, yeah, there are these financial management groups for NHM that has been set up at the state levels. So then also there is a major effort going in the side of mainstreaming of Ayush, like we have seen similar cases during the pandemic. Then also there is this national quality assurance framework for health facilities again as a citizen-centric approach towards the NHM. Also, there was the launch of Kayakalp, which is an initiative for awarding the public health facilities, like new initiatives like promotion of cleanliness, hygiene, infection control in the public health facilities. They are like being awarded if they bring up new initiatives towards these concerned areas. Then also under the NHM, you can see that there is a free drug service initiative, which is substantially the funding is available to the states for providing free drugs, whether there are like which are again subjected to specified conditions, but the central government provides in free drugs on the demand of the state. Majorly for like you can see in the case of the dialysis, the kidney failure issues, then the majorly the controlled drugs that's available, those related to cancer treatment, those related to AIDS treatment. So these are few of the free drug services. Even there like provisions are made for low cost generic medicines being available under the Pradhan Mantri this yojana, this what is it, there are the central government run medical shops, like majorly like they came into the scene during the pandemic we have seen. So they that is there again. Then there are like under the NHM we have the free diagnostic services initiative, which was again launched in 2013, and that majorly provide free essential diagnostic services to the public health facilities. That is again like substantially funded by the central government, and state governments they can develop the resources within them with the available resources they can develop this providing the service again in the state. Also, the states have been asked to plan interventions for comprehensive equipment maintenance for functional and also medical equipment machinery. That is again a major initiative under the NHM National Health Mission, if you see. Also, there are like provisions for primary health care, comprehensive primary health care, which includes the preventive and also the promotion of healthcare, enables which enables the early detection and also prompt treatment and serves a gatekeeping in assuring better health services to the people. Also there was this initiative called as Kilkari, that is again a part of the NHM, the National Health Mission, which is majorly famous among the pregnant women and also parents of children and field workers about the importance of antenatal care, also about which majorly provides awareness about institutional delivery, the significance of postnatal care, which and even immunization, which was majorly absent in the rural areas, if you see. Even though like a large population or proportion of the population is still unaware of the importance of institutional delivery or the postnatal care. And also a large proportion of the population you can see still like against the immunization. If like in the case of even today in the when we are stuck at such a condition of like COVID, corona, this COVID-19. But then again, you have seen that a large proportion of the population was against getting vaccinated. So the reality is that there is an actual lack of awareness among the people, among the citizens about the major significance of getting vaccinated or things. And actually the government fails to bring in such awareness. And there are major misconceptions about various immunization policies that we have in India, majorly in the case of the rural areas, if you see. Then also there is a provision for the mobile academy, which is an anytime anywhere audio training course on interpersonal communication skills that the asha workers can access from her mobile phone of regarding any of the required basic healthcare facility that she has to provide. Also, there was this launch of a nationwide anti-TB tuberculosis drug that was also recently made. Then there is provisions to eliminate the Kala Asar. So these are like, there are many others that have not been included in this. This is not like this is an exclusive list, if you see. So there are many other numerous. It's kind of a an umbrella program which brings in different kind of or different types of basic healthcare facilities that can be inculcated with each within under the name of our flagship program, the national health mission. So like since again even though it's a very huge success in providing the social welfare policies in India, then again it also face major challenges in its implementation. That includes like the shortage of skilled personnel and also specialists, and even the shortage is majorly because of the absence. It can be because of the delay in their appointments, and also that happens majorly because of delay in providing them with, or the absence or even of providing them with the necessary training. And the next major reason is about major challenge is the low utilization of the funds that's provided under each and every scheme that is again a major issue. Then there are also delayed payment of staffs and disparity among regular and the contractual staffs that can again drop in the issue of responsiveness from the part of the staff uh, for towards attending the issues. Then also there is this absence of a weak supervision in the case of even there is an absence of evaluation. We can see the poor management, or even in reporting cases. So that is again seen. Also there is a lack of orientation to new guidelines and infrequent training, so that is again there. Also there are like lack of motivation of the related challenges that the NHM face. There are improper facilities for the doctors and paramedics to kind of service. Then also there is a frequent change of bureaucrats that can again affect the basic guidelines, or the by like bringing in new guidelines every time and other. And the implementation of these guidelines also face it's a time constraint is there. There is that is again affected. Then also there the availability of substandard drugs and equipment in the market again can weaken, or again can make the basic health or the primary health facilities much poorer. So that again needs to be controlled, and these are few of the challenges if you see in the case of NHM or the National Health Mission. Then again just like the Right to Education Act, this is again a milestone in the case of India in its arenas of health. If you see, bringing in a whole lot of policies. Like micro policies within the this umbrella of uh, national health mission. So the thing is that it has to majorly focus on kind of the utilization. The majorly it has to focus on the utilizations of the available funds. The state has to bring in initiatives to make these policies kind of responsive and accountable. They have to make it they have to feel themselves to be accountable to the citizens in providing the primary health facilities. Then only the utilization of funds can be made properly. And also like uh, the uh, the lack of or the shortage of skilled persons, the including doctors and paramedical staff, that have to be resolved initially. So then again only we can ensure that there will be a basic the citizens are provided with basic primary health facilities, and that is one of the major aim of or the objective behind the national health mission can thus be achieved. So the next, the fourth social welfare policy that you have to majorly deal with is the right is regarding the food, which is the right to food security, if you see. So when we deal with the right to food security, so the major act that comes to our mind is the National Food Security Act of 2013, or the NFSA that we normally call it, which was of course introduced by the government of India in 2013, and it's majorly responsible for the provision of subsidized food grains up to 75% of the rural population and up to 50% of the urban population of all the states and the urban union territories. So the enactment of NFSA marks a watershed in the approach to the food security, from welfare to then again a rights based approach. So the NFSA majorly converts into a legal entitlement the existing food security programs of the government of India. So that is NFSA is again an umbrella act, if you see. So of course the like if you see the act was signed into law on 12th September 2013, retroactive to 5th July 2013. So the act is in line with the goal 2 of the sustainable development goals set by the United Nations General Assembly. So again like if you look at the act, there are schemes such as the midday meal scheme and the public distribution system, the integrated child development services. These are like the micro acts that have been included within the right to food security again, or the National Food Security Act again. So like when we dealt with like this point, the NFSA converts into legal entitlements the existing food security programs. So I just missed a point there. Like we can say that the beneficiary under the Antyodaya Anna Yojana household is majorly entitled to around 35 kilogram of food grains every month, while each person like under the PHH, they are entitled to 5 kgs of food grains per month under the National Food Security Act. That is again mentioned. Then there has been like in the recent budget of 2021, there has been no revision of in the prices of the food grains again in the union budget. Also, the PDS prices of the public distribution systems, prices of wheat, rice, the coarse grains that were continued to be sold at the earlier mentioned prices like rupees 3 for I think rice, then of rupees 2 for the wheat, and the coarse grains for rupees 1 per kg, something like that. So yeah, so that's the point I have missed earlier. Then again Goal 2 of the Sustainable Developmental Goals that's set by the UN General Assembly. And the Goal 2 majorly seeks sustainable solutions to end hunger in all its forms by 2030 and to achieve the food security. Uh, can just a second give me a. So yeah, so we were dealing with the Right to Food Security Act. So then again, like, so we were I was explaining that the Food Security Act or the National Food Security Act 2013 majorly comes under the Goal 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. So these the Goal 2 majorly it's about the sustainable solutions to end hunger in all its forms by 2030 and also to achieve the food security. So here the main aim is to ensure that everyone everywhere has enough good quality of food to lead a healthy life. So there are these schemes that's mentioned, the midday meal programs, the all these comes under the national and also the act is being implemented by all the states and also the union territories so far. So then looking at the major objectives of the National Food Security Act, so it's like that the act majorly provides for food and nutritional security in the human life cycle approach, and also by ensuring access to an adequate quantity of quality food. So that is the major thing that has to be considered, the adequate quantity of quality food at affordable prices for the people to live in a life with a dignity and also for matters connected therewith or the incidental hitherto. So that's the two major objectives of the NFSA, to provide food that is with a nutritional security and also to provide an adequate quantity of quality food at an affordable price for all. So then looking at the salient features of the NFSA, so it majorly like the features can be majorly discussed under three heads: the coverage, entitlements, and transparency. So under the coverage, the state wise coverage was determined by Niti Aayog based on the 2011-12 household consumption expenditure survey of NSSO, if you see. So there it was found that the act legally entitled up to the 75% of the rural population and also 50% of the urban population to receive the subsidized food grains under the targeted PDS, the targeted public distribution system. So this has been actually evaluated by the NSSO. Also, it was found that about two-thirds of the total population, therefore, is covered under the Act to receive the highly subsidized food grains. The next major feature of the NFSA is about related to its entitlements. So, when you look at the entitlements, it's majorly that the food grains would be provided at a highly subsidized price under the PDS. That is the one major thing. Also, the act ensures the nutritional support to women and children. The pregnant and lactating women, they would be entitled to nutritional meals, which is free of charge under the midday meal scheme and also the ICDS schemes. Uh, then also the children in the age group of 16 to 6 to 14 years, like again they have the RTE, the right to education, and they would also be entitled to free nutritious meal under the midday meal scheme and also the ICDS schemes, if you see. Then also there are maternity benefits which are provided to the mothers if they take up the institutional delivery, and also if they utilize the government facilities or the public facilities related to their maternity. So they are again then provided with rupees 6,000, which is also like uh, again provided to pregnant women as well as that of the lactating mothers. Also, there is this provision in the act that empowers women by identifying uh, the eldest woman of the household as the head of the household to issue ration cards. So this has been one of the major areas of where the empowerment of women has been provided. Also, the major feature of the the NFSA is the transparency, where it likes provisions have been made to disclose the records which is related to PDS, again to ensure transparency, but that again has major challenges towards it. Also, like if you see the central government usually aids the states to meet the expenditure incurred on them by them on transportation of the food grains within the state, and even also handles the fair price shop, the FPS, the dealers margin according to the norms. Then there are also provision of food security allowance to the beneficiaries in the event of non-supply of food grains. Then again, we have seen how the PDS system had worked so well during the pandemic, where everybody was provided with free food grains. And even in the case of Delhi, you have seen that even though those who doesn't have a ration card, they can access or avail the free ration through like e-coupons which were provided, where you have to register online with the Aadhaar cards or Aadhaar numbers of the family members. Then that was again provided, and there were similar initiatives in many of the states if you see during the pandemic times. So that's how the can say that the uh, food security was maintained throughout the time period since the NFSA was enacted. Then about the question on who are the beneficiaries of the NFSA when you talk about it. So majorly there are two categories of beneficiaries: the Antyodaya Anna Yojana households and also the priority households. So the Antyodaya Anna Yojana households, they majorly encompass the households which are headed by widows or disabled persons, or like persons who are aged 60 years or more, with no assured means of subsistence or like societal support. So it usually takes into account the households of those below the poverty line too, and it also includes support for women and children under the AAY, the Antyodaya Anna Yojana. Then NFSA gives a right to receive food grains at subsidized prices by people belonging to the eligible households. That is the priority sector. So a major section of the ration card holders in the priority sector, they comes under this PHH category. So this is again an effort to alleviate poverty. So the work of identification of the eligible households within the coverage under the target PDS or the target public distribution system, it's determined for each state is to be done by the states and also by the concerned union territories. Then, if you look at what is the significance of food security, so it's a very common thing if you see. So it majorly boosts the agriculture sector, uh, and all the concerns regarding the food security in India. Like if you see, that can be traced back to the experience of our experience of the Bengal famine in the 1943, if you see. So there we felt the importance of the food security and how it is the utmost importance to a nation, as well as how it can be a positive influence on the other aspects like that, by providing a boost to the agriculture sector, if you see, and then it can further help in the growth of the nation. So it can again help the government to aid or regulate the food prices, if you see. Also it can help in boosting in the agriculture sector with result in job opportunities, as agriculture is majorly a labor intensive sector, if you see. And this would again enhance the economic growth and also result in the reduction of poverty, if you see. So that there where it's the significance of food security lies. Again, the food security, by ensuring food security, it can be done by giving proper access or universal access to the nutritious food that would again enhance the overall health of the public. That's why food security is also important for the global security and also for the nation again. Then moving towards the significance of the National Food Security Act. So that was majorly about why we need food security. So now, what was why the how the National Food Security Act is like kind of acting differently than the other major acts that we have. So, the concept of food security at a global level indicates an access to the basic and nutritious food by all the people at all the times, and it's majorly characterized by all the utilize the stabilization of food, so that there is no explicit provision in the constitution for the right to food. So that needs to be identified with the provisions of National Food Security Act. So then again, until the enactment of the NFSA, the fundamental right to life under Article 21 was interpreted to include the right to live with human dignity, and that now includes the right to food and also the other basic necessities. So that's where the NFSA finds its significance. Then again, if you see, there are several obligations under the NFSA for each and every level of governance. So if you look at central government, what are the obligations of central government in enacting in the enactment of the NFSA? So it's majorly that the central government shall allocate the required food grains from the central pool to the state governments under the target PDS. Then the government would have to allocate the resources, keeping in mind the number of persons in the eligible households. The central government would also provide for the transportation of the food grains as per the allocation of the state governments. Also, the central government has to assist the governments in meeting their expenditures incurred by the state government towards the intra-state movement, also handling of the food grains and also the fair price shops margins. Then it's the central government has to create and also maintain the storage facilities at various levels. There are obligations of the state governments that it has to be responsible for the implementation and monitoring of various schemes that have been implemented. It has to organize intra-state allocations to deliver the allocated food grains to the beneficiaries. Also, it has to determine eligible households and the beneficiaries and also ensure that they can avail the benefits of the schemes. So it's again on the part of the state government. They are obliged to create and also maintain the scientific storage facilities at the district and block levels to storage the allocated grains and they have to establish the state government has to establish institutionalized licensing arrangements for the fair price shops under the PDS. So that's under the order of 2001. Again, there is a major role played by the local authorities or the grassroots level governments. Again, in the implementation of, they have actually have to be responsible for the effective implementation of the act. The local governments or the grassroots level governments, then the local authorities have been assigned additional responsibilities by the state government for the implementation of the target PDS. So the like for the target PDS, majorly the information regarding which households should be included into the Antyodaya Anna Yojana and the priority households. So these information are majorly collected by the local authorities, and they then don't pass it to the state governments, the district level, and then to the state governments, where the beneficiaries are then kind of acknowledged. Then also the local authorities are responsible for discharging and responsibilities allotted to them by the state governments. So these are a few of the major obligations of the local authorities and also uh, the central and state governments, if you see. Then again, NFSA also has a few of the challenges that it, or the food security, if you see, majorly has uh, its own challenges in a developing country like India. Then NFSA has its own major challenges again. So there is a like a plethora of challenges to battle food security, and one of them is climate change, where the increase in the global temperature and the capricious rainfall makes farming a kind of difficult. So their change in the temperature not only impacts the crops, but the other species which are reared for such like the fisheries, livestock, again they are also like impacted by the climate change. The next challenge of food security is majorly related to the lack of access. So uh, that's lack of access majorly to the remote areas, where the tribals and the other communities who live in remote areas, they normally do not get appropriate opportunity to avail the benefits of the schemes which are like implemented under the Food Security Act. Then also there is this issue of overpopulation in India, where a substantial increase in the population, which is not properly accompanied by an increase in the agriculture production, can result in the shortage of food, and where we have to depend on other countries to import food grains to meet the necessary needs. Then again there is issues which are related to the non-food crops, like those crops which are grown for commercial purpose, like those for biofuels dyes. They have reduced the area under cultivation for the food grains. Then also the migration from the rural to urban areas has majorly caused this problem of lack of agriculture labor. And then also that has also created a lot of confusion to which the PDS shop to buy how the rural poor who has migrated to the urban areas, from where they can collect their uh, their subsidies from. So that is again a major problem if you see. Then so these are challenges to the food security in India. Then the NFSA also faced several criticisms in its implementation and in its working. So for an effective implementation of the NFSA, it remains with the states and UTs. And as the governance differ from state to state, the effectiveness of the implementation again differs in each state. So that is like a major concern. But then again, there are issues like lack of transparency. So there was this CAG conducted an audit in 2016 where it was found that there are many a large chunk of the uh, food security or the benefits from the NFSA are being supplied to the wrong people, or the and a large chunk of the those who actually require the benefits are majorly left out. So that was found. Then it also accuses many states of implementing the NFSA despite information benefit list is suspicious. So that was found in the 2016 audit of the CG. Then also leakages in the PDS system was found where it majorly indicates that the food grains do not reach the intended beneficiaries. So these leakages are majorly of like pilferage during the transportation of food grains, or diversion at the fair price to the non-beneficiaries, and even exclusion of the entire beneficiaries from the list. So such things have been noted during and also regarding storage. So then again, the CAG audit has like informations regarding that the available storage space at the district and local levels are majorly inadequate for the allocated quantity of food grains. In the case that has been created by the state governments. Also a major outcry has been about the quality of food grains that are provided through the NFSA, where people often complain about the quality of food grains that are not up to the mark, and even sometimes the grains are mixed up with other grains like which are even not edible even. So complaints starting that the grains also consist of non-food particles like pebbles, hair and other things have even been registered throughout. Even the like kind of these insects being found in the rice and wheat that has been provided. So such complaints usually comes. So a critical point in the debate over NFSA is that it doesn't guarantee a kind of a universal right. So that is one of the major challenge before the NFSA, if you see. So then there are some ways to increase the ineffectiveness of to increase the effectiveness of the NFSA. So that includes like the usage of the information technology throughout the process for acquisition of the food grains till the distribution. That again can aid with an enhancing effectiveness of the process. Like for example, in January 2021, the DigiLocker facility has been advocated for the adoption in the PDS. So this will help in making e-ration cards accessible to the beneficiaries anytime from anywhere under the one nation one ration card scheme. So that can be availed. Then again, there are information regarding the entire process from the quality of food grains to the storage facilities where the grains are stored should be available to the beneficiaries. So that again that can bring an effectiveness in the NFSA, and even quality of the food grains can be maintained. Then of course, about the one ration card system, that would be effective in eliminating the confusion that can provide the beneficiaries the freedom to choose from the PDS shop of their choice. Also, the by expanding the corrected management of PDS to all the state can again be an effective measure in uh, bringing effects, enhancing the effects of the NFSA, you can see. Is their major provisions they so far we have discussed major provisions, the major features of what is that major umbrella act that comes under the that particular arena of need of social welfare policies, and what are the major challenges and criticisms that particular act face in that area. So the social welfare administration thus kind of constitute a branch or a subdivision of the public administration, and its scope, if you see, majorly extends from the diagnosis of the emergence of the social problems in all times, like initiating measures to eradicate them through social legislations, and also by the creation of public awareness, and also to provide the social welfare services for majorly the deprived, the disadvantaged, and also the underprivileged sections of the societies, with a view to elevate their sufferings. So it has come to acquire a systematic body of also techniques to the so it's again a new evolving discipline, if you see, and has a long way to go again. So the development of the social welfare, if you see, in the post independence India has been phenomenal in terms of the provision of the administrative machinery or the financial outlays, and even the expansion of the social welfare programs for numerous sections of the society, including the disadvantaged and the underprivileged people. So, the achievements majorly made through the multi-pronged attacks against poverty, the inequities, the injustice through uh, were impressive, of course, but they have much to be. They leave actually much to be desired. So these social welfare policies so far discussed only touch the tip of the iceberg, if you see. Still, one third of the world's hungry people live in India. We have failed dismally in providing like the two square meals of a day, if you see, to almost like 30% of our population. Then there are issues like child labor still constitutes one fourth of the country's total workforce, in which where around more than 40 to 45 million children live in the subhuman conditions, if you see, and around 3 to 4 lakh of girls are engaged in flesh trade, if you see. So the goal of universal primary education, of course, appears successful, kind of only on paper, if you see. So the girl child again continues to be discriminated, and women are being denied their legitimate right of equality with men, and which are subjected to atrocities, including those of infliction of the death rate due to the non-fulfillment of dowry demands. Though women have been given 33% and so far, and still they are by their male partners, like the pradhan, so syndromes are there. Then the incidences of atrocities on Dalits are of course mounting. Tribal people are being displaced in the name of developmental projects, if you see. So the weaker sections of the society again suffer indignities and humiliations. Then there is a gap between the very rich and the very poor, that is again devastatingly widening. So that's therefore desirable that the deficiencies and the inadequacies afflicting the social welfare be given a higher planning priority. So the planning machinery for welfare societies in the state, in the district level, by suitably strengthened and administrative infrastructure, especially like if you see at the state, the district level or the local levels, that need to be streamlined rather than like the central government. Then again, the welfare measures, particularly those related to the social security measures, that need to be extended to the unorganized labor. Monitoring of the welfare programs need to be undertaken by various state and voluntary agencies with a view to access its assess their performance within the stipulated periods, and also to check the leakages of funds and middlemen, and to ensure that the services actually reach the beneficiaries. So that is where the social legislation uh, has to be given the teeth and executed with strong political will. And atrocities on women, children, the SCs and STs have to be checked with appropriate strong measures, including like special courts and special police force that for that particular purpose. So finally, the states should be given, and they should not be looking to the center for the guidelines and funds for their central and centrally sponsored schemes. They should be kind of encouraged and given to take initiatives and take their own responsibilities for the policy formulation and implementation in accordance with the peculiar needs of the respective areas and population. So then only the social welfare schemes can be considered, or the social welfare policies can be enhanced to a greater extent, if you see. So yeah, with that, I'll conclude this unit. So if you have some questions, please send in the chat box. Yeah. Yes, Ashray, you can send your question in the chat box. Uh, Please keep it brief if you can. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Continue. Ashray, you have some question, then please yeah, you can unmute your mic now if you want to raise some question.
Good evening, madam.
Yeah.
My question was on that first day I have asked that how administration evaluate its performance in the social welfare schemes. Matlab, ma'am, performance of the
Yeah.
schemes, how evaluate by the administration?
So for the evaluation thing, there are several committees. There are parliamentary committees available. There, the CAG has this audit. Normally, we were just few seconds before I was talking about the CAG audits, that again come into effect. That looks at the various efficiency and whether the government is responsive enough, and whether the government is taking enough accountability towards the implementation of the welfare policies. That's majorly done by the committees. There are committees, even institutions like the Indian Institute of Public Administration, they take up third party evaluations of various policies and schemes. So that's where it's normally happens. Yes, Sumant.
Ma'am, one more
Yes,
question.
Sumant. Can you please limit it to one if you? Yeah. Yes, Sumant. Please
My
raise your
question,
question.
my, my question is,
Hmm.
nowadays we see much corruptions in PDS systems, and it is not relevant to use biometric
Mm-hmm.
identification to issue ration card in order to eradicate this problem.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said that
Mm-hmm.
with, with increasing corruptions in PDS system,
Mm-hmm.
is it not relevant to use biometric identification to eradicate this
Is it
problem?
relevant?
To use
Are
biometric
using bio
identification.
We are using biometric identification to avail like the PDS benefits in many of the states. But then
Yeah,
again,
it is limited to few states now.
it's not limited to few states. It's actually the state machinery has to implement the system in many of the states. Like in the case of Kerala, they have the biometric system involved in the in availing the benefits of the PDS. Then in state like that of Andhra Pradesh, it's there. In state of Telangana is there. In the state of Goa, you can find the biometric system working over there perfectly.
Okay.
They want to implement. So yeah, it's there. Yeah. Any
Thank
other
you. No,
questions?
no, thank you.
Okay, so I think sorry to like extend the lecture for half an hour. And Kanchan ma'am, thank you so much for providing all the technical support.
Okay,
And
ma'am.
thank you, students. Thank you so much.